Alright, hello there everyone, this is me Ethan here, and welcome back to episode 5 of Ethan's Motion Picture Show. I am glad you all are here today. As you can probably tell, we got a little bit of a rebrand. I got these awesome Far From Home replica Edith glasses that I got. They're more like shades, but they are very, very cool shades that I got for Easter today. So I'm gonna keep it a part of my brand now. And I think it's pretty cool for those people watching and for the people on Spotify that can look at the video. Some pretty cool Edith shades. So I thought I would open up this episode with that. I thought it'd be pretty cool. But welcome to episode 5 with my review of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Now I'd like to point out real quick that yes, there was no episode last week, but that was because I ended up seeing Sonic 2 Sunday night and I didn't have any time to record this episode in time for last week, so it was pushed back to this week. And also apologies for the weird technical difficulties around 2 weeks ago for the previous episode. I just didn't test anything out beforehand, and I learned my lesson for sure, so hopefully this runs a lot better than the previous episode. Anyways, last Sunday, like I said, I finally got around to seeing the sequel to 2020's Sonic the Hedgehog. I really enjoyed the first one, and it was the last film I saw in theaters before the pandemic, so I have some fond memories of whenever I went to see it, and throughout the pandemic, I just looked back to Sonic the Hedgehog because that was my last time getting the movie-going experience. I love the movie-going experience. I've always loved going to a movie theater, so I would always reminisce about going to Sonic the Hedgehog back in, February or March of 2020, and that was, the last time I got to go into a movie theater for a long time, so it has a special place to me. I didn't think it was the perfect video game film at all. It felt more like a combination of a bunch of different films that we've seen before. It just happened to have Sonic in it. And I love comparing it to Illumination's Hop, the Easter movie, ironically. I'm filming this on Easter Sunday. It's releasing on all podcast platforms Easter Sunday, but I find it kind of funny because it also stars James Marsden, and he goes on a trip with a funny CGI character. Obviously, Sonic the Hedgehog is significantly better. I grew up with Hop and enjoyed it, but it is not Illumination's best. A lot of Illumination stuff isn't good, but anyways, I still had a fun time with it, even if it was a little bit generic. It was quite charming to me. I got a kick out of it, and it had such a facelift after all the backlash it had. It was so crazy with that old design that just looked absolutely awful. And then they changed the design in a very quick turnaround time. It was so impressive, and it gave me trust that the movie was going to be good once they heard the fans' outcries over the old Sonic design and said, you know what, the fans don't like it. They're probably not going to see our movie if they don't like the design of our main character, so let's change it and make it better. I respect that, so I easily went to go see it just for that reason alone, and I ended up having a really, really fun time with it. It was so cute, so charming, and of course you also had Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, which was just a perfectly goofy performance. I really enjoyed him. So I was even more excited whenever I saw that post-credit scene with Tails, because then I knew the sequel could feel closer to an adaptation of the Sonic games if it had a sidekick in it. So I've been very excited for the sequel for a long time. I really enjoyed the original just for the sake of it being the last movie I saw before COVID and all that. But just regardless, I really enjoyed the first one, and I thought it could be even better. I thought the sequel could be even better than the first one. And boy, was I right. Sonic 2 feels so much more like a Sonic video game than the first. And throughout some scenes, I was thinking, wow, this looks and acts like a level in a Sonic video game. It was really, really awesome. Let me just point out here, I really enjoyed this movie. Having Robotnik back after being stranded on the Mushroom Planet at the end of the first movie just made him a lot more crazy this time around, and this time he wants vengeance against Sonic for sending him there, and I think that's a much better motivation, much better villain motivation than just, I just want your power. He just wanted his powers in the first one. He didn't know Sonic, didn't care about Sonic, he just wanted his powers. That's all he wanted. He was just power hungry. That's it. He was fun, but his motivation wasn't the greatest. This time around, he knows Sonic personally this time, and his goal is to ruin Sonic's life, essentially. And he just hates the guy now, and he's gone insane after being on a mushroom planet for maybe 2 years. I don't know. It's been 2 years since the first one. He says, at this rate, I should be back by Christmas. It's very clearly not Christmas in the real world, in the Sonic universe. So I don't know how long he was stranded on that island, but he was stranded long enough for him to just go crazy. And Jim Carrey cranks it up to 100 in this one, and I really like that a lot better. It works a lot better. We also got Knuckles as the other villain, and he was easily my favorite character in this film. From the reviews I watched, everybody calls him a fish out of water character or like a Drax character. That's the comparisons that are being made. And yeah, that's truly the best way to describe him. There are times where he is a genuine threat, and he's got a lot of power to him. He's a really cool character. He's the threat to Sonic and Tails more so than Robotnik in this one. And there's also quite a few comedic moments with him that I actually got quite a few laughs out of. Idris Elba did a really solid job voicing him, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. I'll definitely be tuning into his Paramount Plus TV show. I think that one could be so much fun if they keep the writing for that character the same and keep him as the dorky muscle man, kind of like Drax. I think it'll be a great TV show. And I mentioned Tails earlier. He was just alright in my opinion. There's a major issue with how he plays into the story and the previous story, which I'll get into in the spoiler section of the review, which will be at like the very end, so don't worry about that. But I don't know, I felt like he was kind of sidelined. Knuckles kind of overshadowed him a little bit. He was nice. I liked his character. It was nice to see Colleen O'Shaughnessy. I don't know how to say that last name. She did a really solid job with it. She's the voice actor for Tails for like the past 10 years or so in the Sonic video games, so it's very clear that the creators love and care about this franchise and how it's presented. I just don't think Tails was presented in the best way possible here. He was fun, he was cute, he wasn't a bad character by any means, I loved him. But he just felt a little bit sidelined. He didn't feel as focused like I thought he would from the post-credit scene, but maybe that's just because there was a 2-year wait in between or whatever to see him, but I don't know. I liked him. Could have been better. And then we have Sonic, of course, with Ben Schwartz back voicing him. And I just love Ben's performance. It's just a really funny, charming voice to have to Sonic. And I love Sonic's personality. And Ben Schwartz just, he does a really good job as him. Human characters are once again back. And this time around, they aren't as relevant, which is a little bit of a nice improvement upon the first. The only character I really care about is James Marsden's character, because he's always had a nice bond with Sonic, and I thought that was the best part of the original, was their bond along with Jim Carrey's Robotnik. Other than that, I was like, yeah, it's alright. It's middle of the road, but I had fun with it. But it's kind of similar to the MonsterVerse movies, where we don't care about these human characters that you're only putting in one movie in the franchise. Just show us the CGI characters battling. That's all we want to see. We just want to see the monsters battle each other. That's all we care about. But James Marsden's character, I actually really like him quite a bit, and I think he's done a good job in these 2 movies. All the other human characters are not bad, but in the sequel they have a subplot in Hawaii that is just so absurd and takes such a weird twist, and it takes like a solid 15 minutes or so away from Sonic and Tails and Knuckles and Robotnik. And my brother turns over to me and says, "This is still a Sonic movie, right?" I'm like, "Oh yeah. It's just a weird subplot." It doesn't feel like a Sonic movie for like a brief 15-20 minutes for that, and it's just a really weird subplot. And I feel like it's just there to get the human actors that aren't voice actors just a little bit bigger of a paycheck for this more so blockbuster movie compared to the first. And a lot of that stuff could have been cut, and I don't think it was entirely necessary. Was it funny? Yeah, it was pretty funny. I got a decent few chuckles out of it. I thought the human characters were actually pretty fun to watch, but it doesn't feel like anything that would be in a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I don't know. That's really my only problem with it. It's fun human stuff, just not fun stuff for like a Sonic movie. The story itself, I know I just focused on a subplot, but the story itself is a MacGuffin quest. It's expected. It's pretty basic, but it's definitely really fun. It takes some time for some great action sequences. Specifically, the snowboarding one. I had a ton of fun with that one. Like, I just had a blast with them. Like, it put a huge grin on my face. And the first scene you see with Sonic, I won't say like specifics, you can maybe guess from the trailers, but that first scene with Sonic, with a specific song they use, just put a huge grin on my face as soon as I saw it, because the last time I saw him on the big screen was pre-pandemic, and it just made me so happy. It was kind of a full circle thing for me. It was just so cool to see the blue hedgehog back on screen. It just puts a huge grin on my face. Once again, Ben Schwartz, so good as Sonic. I love that opening scene. But yeah, the story isn't amazing, but it leaves for some great fight scenes, and I really enjoyed them. But there is another, not subplot, but scene that takes place towards the beginning of the MacGuffin quest that it's just unnecessary, and it 100% reminded me of one of the Alvin and the Chipmunk films, and I really didn't like it. I'm just gonna say I don't think it's too big of a spoiler. They do a dance fight to Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars. What is it with kids' films and Uptown Funk? Like, what, did it come out in 2015, 2016? They did that in, like, Alvin and the Chipmunks, was it? It was the road trip one. The road chip, or whatever it's called. I think it's the road chip. They did a dance sequence with Uptown Funk, and it immediately reminded me of that, which just bothered me because the first one did remind me a little bit of the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies and the Hop movies. The original Sonic is much better than all of those. I enjoy the first Alvin and the Chipmunks, but anyways, the first Sonic the Hedgehog, better than all of those, but it reminded me too much of that, and I'm like, please, no, just stay away from that. I understand kids would love it. It was a fun scene to watch. It was just a cliche in a kid's movie, and I was like, a dance battle in a Sonic movie? Why? If he's in trouble, can he just grab whatever MacGuffin he needs really quickly and just head out of there? Especially whenever it's just human characters, compared to Knuckles, who can sort of run fast and just punch him out of the way really quickly if he's running and whatnot. He can be stopped in that situation, but here he can just run around, grab whatever he needs, and head out. It was just extended for a little bit too long. It's pretty goofy. It was kind of fun, kind of cheesy, but it was not necessary. Some of the humor overall falls flat a little bit of the time. There's definitely some juvenile humor. There's fart and poop jokes, and I get a decent laugh out of a couple fart jokes every now and then. And one of the ones towards the beginning I thought was okay, but the rest of it I'm like, yeah, okay. But most of the good comedy comes from the physical comedy from Jim Carrey and funny dialogue from Knuckles. That makes up for it for me. The CGI during some scenes can feel weird at times, specifically with Dr. Robotnik. There are some scenes where he's in like his egg or whatever, and numerous scenes during the final act. You'll know what I mean if you've seen it, and it's just, you can tell it's filmed behind a green screen, and nothing there that he's around is actually real. I mean, it's obvious they're not real, but it's not even in the slightest believable. It looks very clearly green screen. It looked a little bit rushed, but the actual CGI characters themselves, like the trio, Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, they all looked great. The interactions between the humans, they still could work on. It wasn't amazing in the first movie. They improved upon it in the second one, but it still looks just a little bit off during some scenes. But overall, the CGI wasn't awful. I still think the CGI looks pretty great for the main animal characters. The opening itself does feel closer to the first, which is okay, because it eventually gets crazier and feels more like a video game. Starts out slow and then it works its way up. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say for non-spoilers. And now we will go ahead and get into spoiler talk. We're doing pretty good. It'll be about a 20-minute-ish review. Alright, so spoiler time. Leave now or forever hold your peace in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Alright, my problem with Tails. He explains that in his universe, he used his technology to watch Sonic's adventure. In the first film, he essentially stalked him. But anyways, for some reason, he knew that Robotnik and Knuckles were back, so then he decides to help. And it begs the question, why didn't he just help Sonic in the first film? Why didn't he see Robotnik become a threat and be like, oh, I should help him. I should go to his universe and help him. I think it would have made for a better first movie if we saw Tails. It would have made for a better Sonic movie. Even if it wasn't the greatest adaptation, we would have at least had his sidekick and like have him show up in like the final battle and just be a huge surprise to the audience. I think that would have been awesome. Like, don't market him at all. just show him in the final battle. I know he'll sell a lot of toys, but just show him in the final battle during the first one as a big surprise, and then just sort of tease him a little bit in the first movie. Have Sonic have a couple interactions with him every now and then have him really be in the second Sonic movie and have him a little bit more in the spotlight. I think that would have worked much better, and then we could have teased Knuckles as the post-credits scene instead. And I'm thinking the scene we could have used was from the opening of the second film, where we see Robotnik on the Mushroom Planet. We could have the first post-credit scene, or the mid-credit scene, be Dr. Robotnik going, "I'll be back by Christmas," or whatever, whatever he said then. And then say, like, 1 year later, or 2 years later, like, give us a time period. How long was he there, so we can know how long he's been driven mad? And then show that scene where the Echidna Warriors come in and try and battle him, and then Knuckles and Robotnik team up. And then that sets up the second film perfectly. I think that would have worked so much better than what they did, where Knuckles just shows up in the first one. I think a tease for Knuckles and him teaming up with Robotnik would have been just a way better post-credit scene to set up the second one than just, oh, hey, here's Tails. He hopes he's not too late. How did he get here? We don't know. We'll have to find out in the second one. I think it would have been set up a lot better. I don't think that was entirely planned to the best of their ability, but if I was the writer, that's what I would have personally done, and I like that much better. But regardless, that's my main gripe with the film. That and the weird Hawaii subplot. Oh yeah, Supersonic. That was awesome. And the Shadow the Hedgehog post-credit scene. That's pretty awesome. I don't know much about Sonic lore, but he seems really cool. And let's just have The Rock voice him. I think he could do a really good job playing Sonic the Hedgehog, and he hasn't been referenced enough in this franchise. He was referenced in this film too, so why not make him the voice actor for Shadow the Hedgehog? Make him have like a really deep voice, kind of like this, but not like Knuckles or whatever, Just have him have a crazy, weird voice and just go wild with it. I can't wait for the sequel. So overall, I would rate Sonic the Hedgehog a 7 out of 10. If I'm being nice, it's probably more like a 6.5 out of 10, but I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It is an incredibly fun ride with a really solid cast. There's more adventure and stakes, making it feel like an actual video game film that honors its button mashing legacy. I worded that really well, didn't I? With a couple of plot issues and gripes out of the way, I can safely say that I loved Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It is my favorite video game movie. Pretty easily, there's no landslide or anything, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who wants to have a fun and easy movie-going experience. So thank you all so very much for watching the Ethan's Motion Picture Show, episode number 5. I had a blast with this one. It's a little bit of a shorter episode, but I certainly enjoyed it. Stay tuned for next week. Who knows what I'll be talking about? I really don't know. We'll have to see what the film industry provides for us. There's quite a bit of news from this week that I just decided to not cover because I want to just dedicate it to Sonic 2 and make it a little bit of a shorter episode, a little bit easier, a little more laid back. And then I could dedicate just one full episode to this movie because I really, really enjoyed it. I'm definitely picking it up on Blu-ray or digital or whatever. Still need to pick up the first one. But anyways, I really enjoyed this one. Thank you all so very much for watching, and keep watching movies and having a great time. Stay safe.